Have you ever really thought about how a deep belief system actually shows up in someone's everyday life? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into exactly that. We're breaking down the 21st landmark of faith, which is all about what's called Christian behavior. We're going to explore how this framework really tries to connect faith to all the little choices we make every single day.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the foundational idea that holds everything else together. From there, we'll see how that big principle gets applied to what we think about and watch, what we wear, and even how we take care of our bodies. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by looking at the ultimate goal behind all of these guidelines. Okay, first things first. Let's really get a handle on the core idea here. You can think of this as the foundation that everything else we're going to talk about is built on. So, what do we actually mean by Christian behavior? According to this teaching, it's way more than just a list of rules. It's a call to bring your entire life, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions into harmony with biblical principles. And this isn't just for your private life, it's for your social life too. It's meant to be a totally integrated way of living. But you might be asking why? What's the point of all this alignment? Well, this quote gives us a really important clue. The goal isn't to achieve perfection all on your own. Instead, it's seen as a kind of partnership with the Spirit, a process where your character is slowly transformed to be more like Christ's.
So we've got the big idea down, but how does it actually play out in real life? Let's start with our inner world, with our minds and the kinds of entertainment we choose to consume.
This framework basically gives you a simple filter to run your choices through. Before you do something or watch something, you ask a key question. Does this lead to purity, health, and joy? Those three things are the benchmarks.
So, from this perspective, entertainment isn't just a way to kill time, it's an active choice, and those choices should line up with what the source describes as the highest standards of Christian taste and beauty. Essentially, what you watch and listen to becomes a very real part of your spiritual journey.
Okay, so from the inner world of our minds, let's shift to the outer world of our appearance. Now we'll see how these internal principles are meant to be expressed through clothing and personal style. Now, here are the practical guidelines for how to dress. What's really key here is that this isn't a strict, rigid dress code. The focus is on principles, things like simplicity, modesty, and just being neat. And what's also really interesting is that the framework makes a point to acknowledge cultural differences, which suggests the principles are more important than the specific rules.
Here, the source draws a really clear line in the sand. On one side, you have outward adornment, things like jewelry and flashy clothing. On the other, you have what it calls true beauty. And that true beauty has nothing to do with looks. It's an inner quality, described here as the imperishable ornament of a gentle and quiet spirit. The takeaway is pretty direct. Character over clothing.
All right, we've moved from the mind to our appearance, and now we land on our physical bodies. Within this framework, being healthy isn't just a personal goal. It's actually viewed as a spiritual responsibility. And that whole idea comes from this core belief, that the body is a temple of the Holy Ghost. So, if the body is considered sacred, it stands to reason that you have a responsibility to take care of it intelligently.
So what does intelligent care actually look like? Well, the framework breaks it down into four main things. It starts with the basics we all know: exercise and rest. Then it moves to diet, encouraging healthy eating and also abstaining from foods the Bible identifies as unclean, which often refers to dietary laws found in the Old Testament.
And the framework gets even more specific about what to avoid. This list of harmful substances includes alcohol, tobacco, and the irresponsible use of drugs and narcotics. The logic is consistent. If the body is a temple, you should avoid things that can harm or defile it.
Okay, let's pull all these different threads together now. After all these guidelines for our minds, our appearance, and our bodies, what's the big picture goal? What is all of this for? You see, this is not just a random collection of rules. All of these practices, from the movies you watch to the food you eat, are seen as part of a much larger objective, to bring your entire self, both your mind and your body, into what the source calls the discipline of Christ. But that discipline isn't even the final destination. It's the path you take to get somewhere else. And that somewhere else is a life that's defined by these three qualities: wholesomeness, joy, and goodness. That's the ultimate outcome.
So what we've really unpacked here is a detailed roadmap for how to connect deep beliefs to small daily actions. It leaves us with a pretty powerful question to think about. How does a structured approach like this one actually shape a person's life and their entire understanding of what it means to live out their faith?
It's a fascinating look at weaving belief into the very fabric of existence.